And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're tuned into the Status Network, the live TV channel. This is a Conversation Corner with your host, Author Andrew Snorton. And let's have a conversation as we have great people doing great things across the board in entertainment, business, community, and more. And today's show is just another edition of some of the great things we're doing. Before we get into our first guest, who is tuned in live from Nashville, Tennessee, Music City. Gonna make my way, what's that song? Down my country, make my way on the Old Town Road. I guess I-75 to I-24 up to Rutherford County. But before we make our stop in Rutherford County, we've got a couple of station announcements that we need to make, as well as announcements regarding yours truly. So first off, with the Status Network, thank you as always for tuning in, not only to this show, this channel, but the entire Status Network family of shows and channels. We all put in work here, so thank you for lending support. To best view this show, make sure you're tuned in to statusnetwork.net. Click on the menu for channels, for live TV, LYVE TV. Make sure you go to that particular channel and scroll to the show, The Conversation Corner, as what have you, as I need to make sure that I'm situated as best as possible. Yes. So in addition to tuning in there, make sure you free up space on your smartphone. Make sure you're tuned in to the app, the Status Network. Click on the menu for channels, click on live TV, and you're good to go there. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Periscope, and other social media platforms for both Status Network and live TV. For those of you that have Roku, go ahead and tune in on Roku and Amazon Fire Stick at Status Network. And of course, if you're not following me yet, you should. Shame on you. You've known me for a minute. Get to know me a little bit better on Facebook at Author Andrew Snorton. And for those of you that follow me on Instagram, Author A Snorton, so you can see the behind the scenes look. So those are some key things. And in regards to the Status Network, we need you to mark your calendars for a big date coming up in July. It should be July 28th. July 28th, as the Status Network is celebrating its first year. So think about it. In a year, a lot of great things are happening in this network, and there's other great things that are on the horizon. Make sure to come out right here to the network headquarters between 2 and 6 p.m. As you see right there, we have vendor space available, so you need to make sure to reach out to us ASAP at the contact number there. Concert, outdoors, free food. That's right, free food, free entry. We've got music, but bigger than that, since we know the school year is right around the corner, we are doing a give back, school supplies, things along those lines to teachers. So if you know an educator that needs that extra boost and extra support, make sure to share the information and come on out. So again, our 1-year anniversary. And now a couple things about yours truly. As you know, I am an author, among other things. The next big book festivals that I'll be doing, for those of you in the upstate, Greenville, South Carolina, July 6th. My time slot is from 1:30 to 2:30 at Fiction Addiction in Greenville, South Carolina. So shout to the upstate. And then for the third year in a row, I'll be in Jackson, Mississippi for the Mississippi Book Festival. And a couple of thank yous. Thank you to the United Ebony Society for a great event this past Saturday in Lawrenceville, Georgia, the Juneteenth Festival. As you see, I was able to do some book signings, see some familiar faces. Shouts to my fraternity brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. It was a little bit cold. Actually, it rained a little bit, but that's okay. We had a great time, so thanks to United Ebony Society for doing a great event. And we've got another quick thank you that we need to do. Family Food Fest Atlanta. Many thanks to the leadership team. Diane Larche doing a great job, is able, in between my duties as being one of the committee members, to actually do a book signing, and a portion of the proceeds are going back to the nonprofit that Family Food Festival Atlanta supports. So we are really excited about some things, and I'm super excited because in just a moment we're going to go ahead. Yes, we got him. Yes, this is one of the first times using Zoom in the building. Zoom, zoom, zoom. So shouts to my first guest tonight, doing some great things in the Nashville, Tennessee area, Timothy Hughes. Timothy, how you doing, sir? Timothy, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, brother. How are you?
Hey, doing great. Thanks a lot for taking time out of your busy schedule, saving the universe one day at a time. So first, hey, man, Rutherford County. Like, I don't know about I-24, I-40. What else? The West End.
Know about it.
I know a little something about Music City. But before we get into
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about that, give our viewers a little bit about your background, where you're from, the college you attended, and some of the other work you're doing before we focus on the two nonprofits that you are really sincerely engaged with. So go right ahead, please.
Absolutely. So, Brother Snorton, thank you once again for inviting me on the show. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share my story. I'm originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Came here to Nashville, Tennessee, to attend the historic Fisk University. Excuse me, got a little activity going on up here. But as a student here in Nashville, I really got involved, wanted to care about and get engaged with the community here in Nashville that was so welcoming and opened its arms to me when I came here so many years ago. So as a result of the work and sort of the inculcation that you get in the Black college experience at Fisk University and at other HBCUs, it was really it was stressed to us and incumbent upon us to make sure that we gave back to the larger community. So after I graduated from Fisk, I got an opportunity to work for a number of different local businesses and organizations. I was an entrepreneur for a number of years. But I've been working here in this social justice space because I really care about what is happening here in our community, and more importantly, how it is that we can make change and really have sustainable change in the city of Nashville and grow as an it city, but also make sure that it's an it city for all of its inhabitants. So that's really what I care most about, and that's a passion for me that really has been inculcated both in my college experience and also into my acculturation experience, just as a citizen living here in Nashville.
And that's important, like you said before, and people don't understand not only just the collegiate experience, but the HBCU experience. To say that it is special is an understatement. And then not only that, the connectivity you have. Like, it's not just, and I kid around like the CNE people, and those of you that go to church, that might be some of you. I'm not making fun of you, but it's a reality. CNE, you show up during Christmas and Easter, and the other 50 Sundays, you're nowhere to be found. You, on the other hand, are taking your role as a steward, as an advocate, and a catalyst for constructive change. But another thing, the common thread you said is about community. Share with us a little bit about Gideon's Army, the work that they're doing, and why, of all the different causes, what has drawn you to the work that they're doing.
Absolutely. So when I mentioned my college experience, and so as a college student, I met a young lady who at the time was a student at Vanderbilt University, who's another one of the local community schools here in Nashville. And she was starting up a nonprofit agency that was going to focus primarily on dismantling the school to prison pipeline. Here in Nashville, as in many cities and throughout the country, there is a pathway by which many students who are, particularly young people who are from disadvantaged backgrounds, who are economically distressed, and often who grow up in difficult circumstances, are funneled pretty much starting at their elementary school years into a system that ultimately results in them ending up in prison or in incarceration. We talk a little bit about the documentary, The 13th, and how the school to prison pipeline and the prison industry is something that has become a growth industry. We also talk about the other documentaries related to the Central Park Five and how they, in many ways, were adjudicated through a process, through a system that was unfair and a multi-tiered system that basically underdevelops young Black youth and pushes them into a system of incarceration. And so Gideon's Army exists as an institution, as an organization to kind of push back against that, to dismantle that school to prison pipeline. And so when I got involved with Gideon's Army, they were starting a project called the Driving While Black Report. Driving While Black Report was one of the central catalysts that was behind the creation of, or the call for, the renewing call for something called the Community Oversight Board. Here today, I'm at the Lynch Community Center here in Nashville, and there was just a conclusion of the meeting of the Community Oversight Board. It finally was adjudicated through the process. It came into existence nearly 70 years after it was first proposed. And now that Community Oversight Board is creating an environment where community members have the ability to have their voices heard at the table with regard to how it is that policing is done in the community. So one of those platforms related to the Driving While Black Report, and that was ultimately adjudicated through that process, was that individuals of color were more likely to be stopped and harassed and in some instances killed, as in the case of Jacquez Clemens and a man by the name of Daniel Hambrick, two individuals who were unarmed Black men here in Nashville who were shot and killed by police officers, and there was no accountability for the officers at that time. And so Gideon's Army was one of the organizations that was sort of at the tip of the spear, demanding that there be accountability for policing because individuals, particularly young individuals, were being adjudicated through that process and were being mistreated and mishandled within the criminal justice system. And so they saw a way that they might be changed. And so Gideon's Army proposed that there would be change. They helped to create this community oversight board, and here in Nashville now it exists. And so we have a legacy of grassroots organizing that is happening here in Nashville, and organizations like Gideon's Army working in concert with others, like one of the other organizations that I'll be mentioning here in a second. And they are doing what they can on a grassroots level, try to address root causes of community instability. Another project that Gideon's Army is heading up is something called the Violence Interrupters. Violence interrupters are an extension. They're sort of a first response, a crisis management response of violence in the community. They approach the issue of community violence from an epidemiological perspective. They address it in much the same way that a public health education or public health organization would address root causes of infection. If you can address what ultimately precipitates and causes an increase of violence in a community, you can keep that community more safe and not have to rely so much on police officers to police the community. And so the Violence Interruption Team is a group of grassroots individuals working through the conduit of Gideon's Army to try to reduce violence in the community, particularly in 37208, with 37208 being the zip code with the highest formerly incarcerated, the largest number of formerly incarcerated individuals per capita in the country.
Wow. And I think one of the key things, and you hit the nail on the head, it's regarding consistency, accountability, and not only, and by developing that platform, that's providing, for lack of a term, more leverage in regards to holding your local officials accountable, but also really drawing to light the need for a change in that law enforcement paradigm, because like you said before, one of the saddest and most telling statistics is when it comes to the use of force on unarmed citizens, and there's a disproportionate number of people who are victims who end up being communities of color, African American and Spanish speaking. So it's great that you guys are doing that. Now, another entity that you are doing work with, like, I'm like, man, you like doing 5,100 jobs, bruh. Tell us about that.
I know, man. You know, that's my Caribbean ancestry, man. I got Haitian people in my blood, and so I feel this impulse to try to do multiple things simultaneously. Gideon's Army allows me to be able to do the grassroots organizing and the community organizing work that is sort of the outside catalyst. Mm-hmm. But the work that I do with this other organization that we'll be talking about here in a second is more inside. It's more about creating and formulating policies by which we can actually create change within government and not just agitate for change outside of it.
Right. And share with us a little bit about the work that the Equity Alliance does, because when I was looking at it, one of the key things that was resonating with me is looking at improved and enhanced economic engagement, political engagement, understanding those processes, understanding how they work, and understanding that you do have a little bit more access than what you think, but also protecting that access. So share with our viewers the importance about the work of the Equity Alliance.
All right. So I mentioned Rashida Fatuga and her founding and her relationship with the creation of Gideon's Army as sort of an outside group that is helping to dismantle the systems and structures related to the school to prison pipeline and the prison industrial complex. The Equity Alliance is another Black woman-led and created organization that was established in 2017 that was designed specifically to educate people about the levers of power within government, how lobbying is done, how voter processes are done, how the constructions of these systems and procedures are set up in such a way that they affect the lives of real people. The Equity Alliance is one of their primary goals is to try to address issues related to access and equitable resources in the community. So demands for greater tax dollars and access to those tax dollars, demands for greater improvements from a structural perspective in terms of policies and so forth. The Equity Alliance works in conjunction with a number of different grassroots organizations here locally to try to address the issue of voter disenfranchisement, particularly felon disenfranchisement, try to restore the voting rights of those individuals who have lost it. Just recently, we coordinated something called the Tennessee Black Voter Project. And within that project, we registered some 100,000 Tennesseans to vote who were otherwise disengaged from the process. As a part of that process, we were also educating them about how the process of the vote works. So it's not just what happens in election years, right? It's also about what happens in off years when they're formulating policies. We're talking about the preparation for 2020 and the census and how those dollars are going to be appropriated based on how accurate the census represents and depicts our communities. And so educating people about those particular issues, doing a form of civic education that is specifically focused on underrepresented and in many ways underutilized communities, particularly Black and Brown and female communities, helping to re-engage and connect those individuals with policies and ways to affect that policy that are going to be able to meet the needs of those people where they are. So the Equity Alliance's purpose is really rooted in trying to make sure that not only individuals understand that their vote and their voice matters, but how they can leverage the influence and the power of that vote to really affect policy change.
And again, those are among another things. It's like there are a number of areas of need and areas of concern. And I was kidding around when I said, who says you can't be, you can't do more than one thing. Right. And I am very appreciative of you. Like I said, I know how hard you work. I know how passionate you are. I know how you take time to really take in the info. You're looking at the realm of possibility. And even in chipping away a little bit of chipping away is better than none at all. As we're getting ready to wind down this segment, of course, this is the first time, but clearly it's not going to be the last now that I know what the heck I'm doing on this end.
Absolutely.
Share with our viewers, and especially for those in Nashville and the interlocking areas, reminding our viewers again the names of the organizations, the essential ways that people can find out more, get connected. And like any community organization, it's always about consistent engagement and consistent support. So share that information with us, please.
Absolutely. So definitely if there are those who are interested in sort of how the grassroots are working together here in Nashville to try to address issues related to criminal justice reform, dismantling the school to prison pipeline, Gideon's Army is definitely a place where they can plug in. You can find out more about what we do on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, but also check out our website at gideonsarmyunited.org. If you're more interested in policy, how that policy that is created on the state level, on the local level, voter registration, voter participation, voter mobilization, voter disenfranchisement, and in some instances suppression, how we can push back against that issue from a policy perspective, then the Equity Alliance is really a great vehicle through which, a conduit through which you can connect to the local community, find out how it is that you can get plugged in. You can find out more about us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, but also on the website, theequityalliance.org. But if you'd like, I'm wearing a shirt today of Nashville Unchained. Nashville Unchained is a vehicle through which we're connecting the work and the effort of grassroots organizations like Gideon's Army and the policy organizations like the Equity Alliance, and they are working together on a number of different very important local projects. You can find out more information about that partnership and how you can plug into either of those two organizations or to both through NashvilleUnchained.com.
That is awesome. Well, Timothy Hughes, I tell you what, I appreciate your willingness to take time out. I know you're probably getting ready to save another part of the universe out in Nashville. Be safe out there. Best wishes. And as we get into our commercial break, we're going to make sure that we have the information up there as well so people can connect. So at this point in time, we're going to take our first commercial break. Thank you, Mr. Timothy Hughes, for all your hard work. We're going to take a quick pause for the cause. And when we come back, we'll have our next guest. You're tuned into the Conversation Corner. are back on the Conversation Corner with your host, author Andrew Snorton. And of course, I did great my first run on technology. Right quick. Hold up. We'll figure out and make it happen. Don't worry about it, guys. You know, I just had stone fingers for a moment, but now I am back. Yes, making the magic happen. So we had a great first guest. We've got another great guest coming on right now. See what happens? That was me. That was on me. But we are back, and I've got someone who I've known for a minute who has really been a big presence with getting a lot of the behind-the-scenes work done, but now she is ready to come. You know, it's that time. You want to come up. So we've got Miss Cierra Smith. Cierra, how you doing this fine evening?
I'm blessed and highly favored. I will not complain.
Well, that's good. You definitely are, because your technology didn't fall off like mine, so you're doing all right. Cierra, give our viewers a little bit of your background, where you're from, a little bit of your educational background, and I guess your track record in regards to being community engaged and community involved.
All right. Just as you said, my name is Cierra Smith. I'm originally from Champaign, Illinois. Yes, that is a real place. Raised here in Atlanta, been here all my life, and I attended South Georgia, which is a 2-year institution down in Coffee County, also a real place. Then I transitioned my talents over to the University of West Georgia, in which I obtained my mass communications major. So that was awesome. And it's funny that we just had the interview with the other gentleman when he spoke about community work, because I made sure that it was my duty to become involved when it came to school organizations, talking to the professors that knew this and knew that, or the things that I didn't know. So I definitely took advantage of that when it came to different campus or different activities on campus, and also organizations as well. So this is what prompted me to push my nonprofit organization, and amongst other things as well. So.
Well, wow. So it sounds like you've got a body of work, and it's not like you're doing it for the sake of doing it. You're doing it for a purpose. You're doing it for a reason. You're doing to better engage and get other people connected. Walk through with our viewers your current project, because even though this is the first big one, we know it's not going to be the last. So walk us through the evolution of the work you're doing through your up-and-coming nonprofit, especially as it ties in with health-related issues, with kidney disease, and I'll say working with kidney patients as well as families of kidney patients.
Definitely. The name of the nonprofit is Fearlessly Gifting, where our mission is to acknowledge, transition, and conquer. It is just as it sounds. You acknowledge the issue in which you were diagnosed with kidney failure. It is not a bad thing. It is not the end. Transition. You just have to make that transition to be better, to move forward in order to make it. Conquer. We overcame. We received that kidney. We made it. And just as he said, it is my first nonprofit organization, so it hits home a little bit more. Just a backstory: in August of 2013, my dad was diagnosed with kidney failure. In other words, renal failure and things of that such. So when I got that news, it kind of hit home. Well, it did hit home. It hit home real personal. So it's just kind of like, I always used to quote, "Faith without works is dead," because it's just kind of like everyone says that they want to make a change and they want to do something and they want to help that one. And when I got that news that my dad has kidney failure, I knew I had to do something. I knew I had to make a change. If it was me doing my research on something, or if it was me being the one to give him a kidney. And I actually went through the process myself as trying to give him a kidney. Just back in things in which I unfortunately was not a match, but I am not the only one in which has kidneys, and others could be a match as well. So.
That's a good amount of moving parts, and it's one of those things you said before. It's not that you weren't aware of, okay, there are health issues related to kidneys, but like you said, the very first thing is it hit home.
Yeah.
But the thing is, after you got the news and after you kind of got recentered, you're like, where do I go from here?
That's it.
And through your experience, you were able to understand those steps in that process about matching and why matching is so critical and so important. Not only that, just whatever changes might have to be made, I don't know, ranging from diet, fitness, things along those lines. What would you say, as you went from your father having kidney failure to going through those processes, what would you say was one of the key things that you learned? And on top of that, what's one thing you felt that others who might be in that situation might be missing? And we know there's different organizations doing different things, but what's one key thing that you learned from that experience? And what's one takeaway you had, like, hey, look, this is something that people might be missing out on?
A key thing learned is, I mean, I hate to sound cliche about it, but you have to do your research. A lot of people think that kidney failure comes from literally just not drinking water and or drinking alcoholic beverages on a regular, and that's not it. His kidney failure actually came from high blood pressure, and which is a big issue within the black community, firstly. But I mean, high blood pressure and kidney disease doesn't have a sex, a sexuality, or color, race, or anything. So, I mean, you definitely have to prepare yourself. Another thing in which I took from it is, being that it did hit so close to home and I dealt with it hands-on, I can only imagine what the other families are dealing with as well. Because that's a transition. That's not just a transition for that patient, but it's a transition for that family as well. Because whenever that doctor says, hey, you have to change this, or you have to accommodate this, you have to do that, that's a family affair. I mean, you have to be hands-on with it. So. And
you made a couple of good points, because backpedaling a little bit in regards to reasons for kidney failure, and I'll admit I'm always thinking it's because of lack of water or excessive alcohol, but you said there are other factors which ties into that larger umbrella of health and wellness. So it's not just your intake or what have you. It can be other things that are taking place.
Correct.
And then your second thing is, like you said, you were able to take the initiative to varying degrees regarding, hey, this is what I have to learn. This is what I have to be aware of. But then, like you said, you put yourself in someone else's place. What if you didn't have access? What if you didn't know? How can that impact people? Walk us through the evolution from, again, your father living with the kidney issue, learning more about it, and now all of a sudden, what are your next steps to not only just help continue to empower your family and those around you, but the larger community? So walk through with our viewers that particular, for lack of a term, those evolutionary steps.
Just as we stated, Fearlessly Gifted is a nonprofit organization which was created for my dad, but just because my dad is the one dealing with it, I wouldn't be that selfish not to help others dealing with it as well. So it's an outreach nonprofit in which we assist kidney patients and kidney families, emotionally, physically, in any way in which we can. Here, I hope to evolve into something bigger. And it's funny because whenever I'm speaking to kidney patients, it's just like, man, thank you. My dad tells me all the time, it's a mental thing. He does participate in dialysis, which is 3 days a week, 4 hours a day. And I mean, just to be blunt about it, dialysis is what's keeping him alive. So it's just kind of like, okay, you do your research on dialysis as well. And that's something that if you help another patient out or you help another one out, when they see that an outsider cares, in a lack of language terms, it gives them reason to keep pushing, keep fighting, because honestly, it's a mental thing. Dialysis is something that's, you don't just wake up to say, I'm going to do dialysis. That is something you have to mentally prepare yourself for. And I mean, we laugh about it and everything. Even with my dad to this day, we laugh like, oh, he had dialysis today. It was that type of day. But when he has his good days, he's good. But when he has his bad days, that's a transition as well. And that's going back to what I said. We have to accommodate him. We have to understand, hey, it's okay. We can't push this button. We can't play with him right now, but he doesn't mean any harm.
Right. And I think, like you said before, the mental aspect, because, again, it's one of those things, whether it's a physical health or mental health, it's a different mindset when you, quote, live with something versus you have something. Yeah. That's huge. That's one of the things I learned in talk, kind of interrelated with a person I know living with a mental health issue. It was, he got to the point where this is what I live with versus this is what I have. When you live with it, you understand that dynamic that you were talking about before. When you have it, and when you have those bad days can be ugly. Ugly. Not talking about nobody.
Like I say, thankfully the good days outweigh the bad, and it's a transition for that person, because you have to shift yourself as well and be like, hey, this is not the end. Hey, they have resources, or hey, I can get better and I can get help. So now, and the good thing is, and repeat for our viewers again, under
the umbrella of the nonprofit, I'll say the platforms or the key areas of focus or the mindset, revisit those with us again. And what are things you're seeing yourself doing on the horizon under this particular entity or this particular umbrella?
As far as putting into the nonprofit, time definitely. And I hate to sound cliche about that, but time, patience, and consistency is key when it comes to it. Like I said, I'm not just speaking for one. I'm speaking for my mom, my brother, my sister, and therefore it's like whenever I present that to someone else, I have to relate to that person as well. I just can't come to them and just automatically say, oh yeah, I know you got kidney failure and that's it. I have to relate to that person. I understand what you're going through. This is not going to be the end. You will overcome this. If it's you getting a new kidney, if it's dialysis is working for you 100% or whatever the case may be. Again, I have to adjust to that as far as like giving that person the okay, if that makes sense. Hopefully within the nonprofit, the community aspect of it is going to be real big because again, I'm not just doing it by myself. It is a community effort. It is people in which I have to speak to. If they are a donor, if they are a recipient or whatever the case may be, I have to be hands-on when it comes to them. And I don't have a problem with it at all because again, I mean, it comes natural to the aspect. It's just like another conversation. Hey, how was dialysis today? You good?
Right.
You cool? So, I mean, yeah. Definitely the community aspect.
But that's good. And like you said before, and that's a theme that our first guest had, it's about consistency with
Most
your
definitely.
engagement, consistency with sharing that message, with sharing that platform. And another thing is, like you said, having a combination of sympathy and empathy.
Yeah.
And I think it comes back to what you said before. When you looked at your experience, you asked yourself, here's what I was able to do, but what about other people who are in the same predicament that might not know where to go or where to look, or they feel like they can't go through the range of emotions or highs, whatever you want to call it. So it's great that you are taking that and putting it bigger and utilizing your platforms to genuinely connect.
Because it's like no one asked for that. I mean, that's just something. I mean, there are measures in which you could take to avoid it, but no one knows that. I mean, especially me. Do y'all go to the doctor? Are you supposed to?
Oh, yeah. See, look at you sound like mama and them.
Are you supposed to? So
And everything. Well, here's what we're going to do, because as we're getting closer to our second commercial break, and we're going to continue this conversation during our last segment, please let our viewers know during this commercial break what are the best ways for them to connect and engage with your organization.
we are on social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's _ fearlessly gifting, number 4U _. And those platforms are pretty much used for if you know someone dealing with kidney failure and or yourself is dealing with kidney failure, please drop a picture, please drop a bio of yourself, because again, we're trying to get people kidneys. That waiting list in order to receive a new kidney and donor list is ridiculous. So if we could just be a word by mouth, word by community and things like that, I mean, let's make it happen. So again, please drop your information and let me know.
Okay, well, at this point in time, we'll take our second commercial break, and we come back, we'll handle our PSAs, and we'll continue our conversation regarding fearlessly gifting. And this is the Conversation Corner with your host, Author Andrew Snorton. Hey, and we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Look at here. We handle business and we have fun here in the Conversation Corner. Before we do our closeout segment, we're going to do a couple of public service announcements for things that are upcoming and what have you. So let's go ahead and get that first PSA. Yes, if you want to make sure to connect with me, that's right. If you're not buying anything online on Amazon, make sure to visit either of these bookstores right here. So if you're in Metro-Atlanta, Macon, Georgia, Greenville, and Spartanburg, South Carolina, you want to make sure to connect with me there. And we do that next slide. I'm not only in bookstores there, but yes, bookstores in North Carolina, including my alma mater, Wake Forest University. You got to give them a shout. Virginia, Kentucky, Dallas, Texas, and of course, the Motor City. So if you're not online, if you live in any of these areas or know someone that lives there, go ahead and send them that way to get a copy of either book, which is Author Academy Award nominated. Our next public service announcement is going to be, yes, if you or someone you know is a fan of baseball, one of the hidden gems is minor league baseball. Make sure to go to my website, asnortonccs.com/blog. My current article is the part of an ongoing series called Nothing Minor. Last week I was able to cover the Louisville versus Gwinnett game. The Gwinnett team is the top minor league team of the Atlanta Braves. So it's pregame interviews, postgame, the whole 9 yards, and I'll do an ongoing series regarding minor league baseball. Other public service announcements that we've got. As a reminder, you heard it at the beginning, but if you hear it twice as nice. So again, catch me July 6th. 1:30 to 2:30 in Greenville, South Carolina at Fiction Addiction, as I'm one of the featured authors for the Love Your Indie Author Bookstore Day, and of course the Mississippi Book Festival, third year in a row, August 17th. And Bronx Day, so calling all my folks from up top. That's the BX, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, Staten Island. A lot of the folks that are from the Bronx, from up top, and we'll count the other tri-state areas, Jersey, Connecticut, all that. They've got a great themed weekend, but the nice thing about that weekend coming up, which is going to be July 18th through 21st, the 20th is the Family and Friends Day at Perkison Park, 2 to 8 p.m. I'll be one of the folks that'll be out there. And on top of that, for the Family and Friends Day, bring your school supplies. They'll be doing a school supply drive out there. So you make sure to check it out. For the 21 and older folks, you can come Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and Sunday. For the families, you want to come out Saturday during the day from 2 to 8. So that's Bronx Day, slice of the tri-state, and up top, making its way to Atlanta. And do we have any other announcements? Yes, for you aspiring music folks, make sure to check out Third Level Entertainment, top-notch studios, $40 an hour. You got to be kidding me, for either a 2 or 4 hour block. So go ahead and make that top-notch recording and all that type of stuff. So shouts to our friends at Third Level. And do we have anything else that I need to make sure I give a shout to? I guess that might do it. That really might do it. So now that we've got a few minutes, and I know this is our closeout time where we usually have our guests and whatnot, and we've got a couple of minutes on here. We got one more. I've been reminded one more. Let's go ahead and take that one more. See, we're just so eager out here. And that happens. One more. Yes, the artist that you see on the sidewalk, I am Jim Shue, is one of the folks that has been a guest on our show, and we normally have his instrumentals playing in the background, but Chicago raised, Atlanta living, just a great guy, great artist and whatnot. So check him out, fans of hip-hop. Now I can go ahead. See, it happens. Even, look at here. Sometimes you just get so excited. Just can't hold back. Can't hold me back. Can't hold me back. So during the time that we have, I know one of the things we were talking about is, and you've talked about the awareness piece, share with us a couple other components that you wanted to make sure that our viewers were aware of, especially as it comes to what you're doing on your platform, and especially in regards to health and awareness regarding patients of kidney disease as well as families.
Yeah. The organization's name, Fearlessly Gifting, came upon whenever we did find out that my dad had kidney failure. It wasn't a second thought as to, okay, hey, I'm able, let me go get tested. So it's broken down into fearlessly and or fearless gifting, however you want to word it, because we will incorporate it into something. Fearlessly gifting, you give without fear. A lot of people think whenever you go under the knife and or you get surgery and or you just give a kidney in general, that it's something that's a little gruesome and ridiculous. But a lot of people don't know as well. As soon as you get done with that surgery, you can go back to work the next day if you choose.
Really?
But
I would choose not to. I'm just being honest. I would choose the only work I'm doing is
Look, there you go.
slide to the left, slide to the right. That means
telling
when I'm
you.
rolling over in bed.
But yeah, I mean, and then the other half of it is gifting. Of course, whenever you receive a gift, if it's Christmas, birthday, Thanksgiving, or whatever the case may be, whenever you receive a gift, that's a form of excitement. So if you're gifting someone, especially in this case, like I say, an organ in order to keep them going, in order to keep them moving and keep them living, you are gifting, and it's a form of pleasure to them. They're thankful for that, and they will be forever thankful for that. So again, fearlessly gifting is just go for it. A lot of people are, again, they're scared about it. Hey, I got to go get surgery. I got to go do this and everything. But think about the outcome as to what you're doing, who you're doing it for, or either whatever the case may be for it. So.
And that's big, like you said. Sometimes it's like you just gotta, like I said, what they say about faith. It's like, and I'm paraphrasing, like you still walk up the steps without seeing the full staircase. It's paraphrasing, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I prefaced that it was paraphrasing, but no, it's serious. And like you said before, you get to a point where it's like, let's go ahead and move forward. And as we move forward, bringing others along. And like you said before, the biggest thing is about equipping and empowering.
Definitely.
And that's huge because, like you said, whether it's kidney or other health-related issues, you want to put people in a position where they feel like they are a part of that problem-solving process.
And another thing, with resources as far as like my nonprofit organization and other nonprofit organizations as well, which can equip you with the proper information for it, you can also head over to the main transplant hospitals, I guess you could say. I know for a fact here in Georgia we have both Emory and Piedmont. Those are the two main transplant hospitals in which they have. One of the criteria are once they give you that call that, hey, such and such, we have a kidney for you. You have 24 hours to get to that location where they called you in order to be still eligible for that kidney, if that makes sense.
So in other words, if they call from a number that's non-recognizable, you might just want to pick it up.
Just answer all those.
Just
phones.
answer the phone. All right.
Just answer your number.
We're just saying. I'm just asking again. That's
it.
awareness right
I'm
there.
telling you.
I don't know anybody at the hospital. Well,
You better try.
you might want to try.
You better try it.
Wow, but that's huge, and I appreciate, and really not only you but Mr. Hughes, I appreciate your energy, I appreciate your candor, your passion, and the key thing is both of y'all have a passion for people, a passion for making sure people are in a better space and place than where they were before, and that's huge. That's really huge. So as we get close to winding down, remind our viewers again the best ways to connect and engage with you. That way they're aware of different programs, events, access to resources, and of course support to keep you guys going.
Again, majority of social medias, we have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. That's _ fearlessly gifting for you, or for all, I'm sorry, _ And while you're on those, make sure we always hashtag. Hashtag is the way to get the word out there. That's Easy Fight. That's EAZY. And also we have Kidney for You. Again, that's Kidney for You.
Okay, well, you heard it here. So as we get ready to wind down this show, and before you tune in, make sure you stick around because there's other shows that are scheduled for tonight. And not only thanks a lot for supporting our show, but support the entire Status Network family of shows. Again, coming up on a year is a big accomplishment, and there's a lot of positive things going on, not only here on our show, but all the others. So before we close out, just a couple of quick reminders. The next time that we will air is we normally air every second and fourth Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the next time that we will air will be July 10th. Again, make sure statusnetwork.net, live TV channel. Make sure that you're tuned in and connected on those. And again, these are the types of people that we bring in. These are the types of things we do on the show. So at this point in time, we're going to go ahead and draw our show to a close. We thank our guests virtually and in person for being here. Keep making the difference that you are. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, y'all take care, and we will see you later. And again, let's have a conversation. We'll see you soon.